It's time for Church Hat Chat, and today's sermon is I'd like to know, brothers and sisters, why in 2023 are we still sacrificing our black daughters? You know, when you look at the stats that 4 to 5 black women and girls have their lives taken, mainly by men in our community, 4 to 5 of us a day. It is just amazing to me that we are not preparing our girls how to survive in a world filled with predatory males. Now let's break this down and let's talk about it. And let me tell you the reason that I'm doing this sermon this Sunday is recently a former student of mine who is a teenage girl who is just a creme de la creme, straight A student, captain of her dance team. And she came to visit me and began to tell me all of her accolades, how she was doing in school, her GPA, that she's in line to be valedictorian. I began to ask her, well, what else are you doing? And so she began to tell me about her extracurricular activities. And then I said, and then what about friends, boyfriends? And she starts telling me about this amazing young man that she's dating at her high school. This young man is captain of the debate team. You know, he has a really good family. His family's very well known in town. And I said, oh, you know, I know his parents. Let me see a picture of him. Do you guys have a picture together? Did you go to homecoming? Oh, no, Miss Kate. I'm not allowed to date. Oh, and I said, well, do you have a picture of him? No, I'm not allowed to have pictures of boys in my phone. Yeah, because my mom said, you know, you keep your face in that books and, you know, leave these little boys alone because we be thinking that we be in love. And I said, no, your emotions are real, honey. And then I had to be quiet because she's not my child. And then I wanted to come on here this Sunday and say to you all to stop sending our girls out to just the wild to be slaughtered. Like by not teaching little black girls how to interact with males, what you're doing in essence is taking a little deer and just putting it out on a range where there are wild animals and predators all around, white men walking around with guns and camouflage suits, just waiting to take their life. Do you not understand that this is one of the reasons that we are in the position that we are in right now as black women? Do y'all understand that? Do you understand that this is the reason why that a lot of us are having our lives taken is because we were never taught how to interact with males. The only thing that our parents did was tell us to stay away from them. We were created, but whoever created us for us to want to interact with the opposite sex. And by the time your daughters hit puberty, they're going to be interested in somebody, a male or a female. They're going to have interest in someone in a manner of an intimacy. They're going to be interested in them. Now, I'm all for teaching your children and your daughters to protect their bodies, but you've got to teach them and help them to protect their hearts. You know, I get angry about this because it was happening when I was younger. While you are keeping your daughter from even having a picture of her, but she can't even tell you that she likes boys. So she's supposed to be just some kind of some like walking around asexual mute or something that just don't even like boys. She just don't even see boys. The only thing she sees is books and her girlfriends, right? It's not logical. Just because you have an issue with it and you're in denial about the fact that she's going to grow up to be a woman, or maybe you hate the fact that she's going to grow up to be a woman, because sometimes I think that people that have daughters hate the fact that they have daughters and hate the fact that they're going to grow up to be women, because we know that the abuse that they are going to have to endure, especially as a black woman. And so instead of teaching them about it, you want to stay in denial so you don't have to deal with it. So the way you a way you can stay in that denial is to play ignorant and play dumb and pretend that she doesn't like boys and she's not interested in them. When what we should be doing is teaching them about all this slickness. Because while we're trying to teach girls to keep their dresses down, nobody's telling the little boys to pull up their pants. And while we're teaching our daughters, just stay away from the boys and keep their heads in the books, nobody's talking to the boys about keeping their heads or putting their heads in the book. They're telling them to put their heads up under your daughter's dress and how to be slick. So what we should be doing is certainly when they are at home and we have some control over their whereabouts and we're able to protect them, that is the time, parents, to teach them how to interact with black males and the opposite sex. When your daddy's there to protect you, not when you go way off to an HBCU and you just a little virgin walking around, don't know nothing about men and boys, and you're a whole state away a whole phone call away, and you've not opened up the door for her to even admit to even be able to talk to you about it, because there are young ladies that are black that are in college, that are college students, that tell me, oh, my mom, they told me to keep my head in the books, because the only way that a girl can be successful is to stay away from men. But then as soon as she becomes a woman and finishes her college or her education, then you're going to expect her to marry a man, be able to pick the right man, marry a man, be a wife and mother, and be able to be a good woman to a man that she didn't even know how to pick. The time to allow your daughters to date and to get to understand about the opposite sex is when they are in your home. When your daughter can come home and say to you, Mom, he keeps trying to talk to me about having sex with him. He keeps talking to me about that. And then you can talk to them about, help them to be able to maneuver through that. Okay, Mom, he's telling me that I dress too conservatively. Let me take pictures of myself without a top on and send it to him. He won't send it to anybody else. But they can't talk to you about that because you have them guilted into and shamed into not being normal humans. And the last thing I'm going to say is, I'm going to give you a personal example of myself, is that my parents, Jehovah's Witnesses, strict. We couldn't talk to boys. We couldn't look at boys. So what we need to be doing is at that time teaching girls how to interact with males, because in my example here of myself, so I was never allowed to talk to light boys, take pictures, go on a date ever. And then I get 18 years old and go to college. And even though I lived at home, my parents then let me go out with a 26-year-old man who had been in the military, traveled the world, had played semi-professional football, who was a complete freak and a hoe, and all he did was, I was nothing but a toy to him. He abused me. He badgered me into being intimate with him well before I was time. He threw me away, picked me up. He did everything but kill me. And I had no idea, because I had no experience with males. Because my parents hadn't taught me how to interact with males. I knew nothing about a curfew, because they kept such strict control over me that I would, when I finally got out from under their home and got to college, I would go out to a party and not come home for 2 days, because I didn't learn how to be able to have any self-control, because my parents controlled me and then threw me out into the world. Stop doing this to little black girls. Stop sending them out into the world unprepared of how to handle and be around men. Normal human nature is they are going to like boys. They are going to interact with the opposite sex. Start teaching the other sex not to abuse them, and then also be there so that your daughter will have a soft place to fall when they are hurt, so that they can learn how to pick a man who honors and respects them. That, ladies, is my church hat chat for this Sunday.